I looked up Psalm 118 today, verse 23. The Lord has done this, and it is marvelous in our eyes, and it's going to be in yours too. As we welcome our guests from Guelph, and I think we should welcome all those people that are sitting over there. Who are all those people over there?
My parents and my best friend and her family, and my sister-in-law and another friend of mine, and my kids. Did I say my kids?
All cheerleaders of
Yeah.
Andreas and Louisa Kraus. And the children. Let's show a family picture because the kids are sitting over there. But your children are how old?
10 and 12.
And we are looking at Andrea and Joshua.
Yes.
And it's just thrilling to see that they are just as much a part of the faith fuel in this journey
Yes.
as mom and dad.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's go back 16 years ago. Andreas, your appendix burst.
Yep.
Was that the first medical? I mean, are we starting at the right place?
Yep.
There's a whole lot that follows.
Yeah, lots. Yeah, I was basically in my room at my parents' house downstairs, and I didn't feel well. I was bringing up sort of green, and but I didn't want to go to the hospital or go anywhere to see anybody. So then my sister said, "You should go see somebody." So at that point, sort of went to the hospital.
Now, Louisa was in your life at this point.
Yes.
Not married.
No, we weren't married. And I went to see him at home, and we made him go to the hospital, and then he ended up sitting on a gurney for a while. They didn't, but anyways, it turned out that his appendix burst while I actually was with him, and he started screaming. So I went and got the doctors, and they got him, they said, just in time, and he was in the hospital for a few weeks after. And so that caused lots of problems afterwards in his colon and then in the liver. And
It effectively poisoned your liver. And you would be diagnosed with, I'm not even going to try and say it.
Sclerosing cholangitis.
I have never heard of that. Now, describe, as you did for me in the green room, what that is.
Yeah. Basically what that is excuse me, the bile ducts in the liver sort of
Excuse me.
go like this from large to small, and mine were sort of like this all the way down, so obstructing
Blocked. Yeah.
the fluids that are supposed to come through your system and, you know, cleanse the system, right? Because the liver's like the filter for the whole body. So, and mine weren't working properly, and at that point the doctor says, you know, I don't know, there's not really much of a cure for sclerosing cholangitis. And he said, you know, we'll just have to keep you under surveillance and keep track of your levels.
There is no cure for what you had.
Nope.
Bottom line. Now, I'm going to keep this crisis on hold for a minute. And I want to get to where your faith journey was as this crisis unfolded.
okay. Well, as a little girl, I always believed in miracles. We experienced quite a few of them in our family. My brother was healed of a brain tumor. He had a brain tumor, and then he had all the signs of a brain tumor. He had an x-ray done, and there was a brain tumor. And then just before they did surgery, they actually found that there was no brain tumor. His eyesight had gone back to normal. His head had actually, you know, when you're little, he was 5, so his head had actually started kind of splitting open or whatever.
Because of the tumor.
Because of the tumor, and then it was gone. And so they documented it as a miracle. They flew doctors in all over, showing that, because it was there and then it was gone.
How old was your brother?
He was 5.
5 years old.
So growing up, I believed in miracles, and then when we actually gave our hearts to the Lord that week,
Now, what week?
that was in January of '94.
Now, where was this in relationship to
Well, we were,
your liver?
well, we didn't know
was-
about the liver at that point.
No.
No, his appendix had only burst. And so
That actually pushed you to knowing no helper but God.
Yeah, it did actually. I remember when he was in the hospital that night and they weren't sure if he was going to make it. And I remember praying, God, I promise I'll make him go to church if you save his life. And I know that's not right. I was bargaining, but I honestly said that. And we did. We started going to church. And then I received another miracle in my sinuses that week that I
The week you gave
my
your heart to the Lord.
And then...
And wait a minute, how can he go to church when he's maybe not even going to live?
Well, no, we didn't. That wasn't the same time. His appendix burst, and then afterwards we went to church.
Okay, we've got to get you to some level of recovery here.
He got
Andreas.
recovered after 3 weeks.
Yeah.
There was some stabilization, but
Yeah.
not a cure.
No cure. Like that, it didn't show signs in the liver at that point.
Now, you came
then-
from a family that knew the Lord,
Yeah.
but
My
you weren't.
family was all Christians, and then I was at one point, and then I backslid. And then actually when my wife and I met, I said, well, I can't even get married to you until you become a Christian.
Even though you weren't
Even though
exactly
I wasn't
walking in the
really
way.
walking the way I was
And you'd
supposed
always loved God, but didn't know you could have a personal relationship with
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, so we've got God on center stage now, and we've still got a medical crisis.
Yes.
You were stabilized, obviously,
Yep.
for
Yes.
a period.
Well, after his appendix burst, everything was fine, what we seemed, and then he's a year after we were married, his gallbladder had basically ruptured, and he had an emergency gallbladder removal, and that's when we found out about the liver. That's when we found out about it. The doctor took us in and told us about that and said, you need to go on a transplant list. And so that became, you know, Andreas
Yeah.
didn't want a liver transplant. He wanted a miracle.
Yeah.
He got a miracle, but it wasn't the way he wanted it, you know?
Explain.
Explain. Well,
You didn't
I-
want the surgery. You
No.
didn't
That's
want a
right.
transplant.
No. I believed in God that he would just restore my liver back to new.
Where did
You
you
know,
get that? I mean, you're the guy who'd been wandering away
Well-
far in the far country.
After, listening to a lot of good programming and stuff, and faith renewed like the eagles, right? That's what I figured. So, and he can restore everything. And that's what I just kept believing in, that he would do it that way, no other way, that way. That's the way I wanted it done.
And you were pretty bold in your conversations with the medical profession
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
about this. You wouldn't entertain any of the negatives or speak any negatives
No.
despite your eroding health. I mean, you were going down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one doctor I just talked to on the phone the other day, she said, that's the one thing about Andreas. He's just not afraid to die. He always had faith. He always had hope. And she said, I know that it was your faith in God that brought you to this point.
There's such a list of bad news here. Stomach infection from the liver.
Yeah, that was in September of last year. His stomach had all bloated up, and
I was up to 222 pounds.
And that was just from
Fluids.
yeah.
You're
So
a
we
lean
got
machine.
rid of that crisis, and then the most recent.
I mean, this came to a place where, I mean, I don't know how graphic we want to be here, but bleeding bedpans half full every couple of hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They-
And what were the doctors saying?
Well, at that point, his heart rate was about 139 to 145, which was like jogging all day type of thing. And he was losing more blood than they could put in. They couldn't keep up to him. And so they basically said they had to send us to London and to have his colon removed, which at first Andreas didn't want to do. Until we prayed, and we just had peace to go, and what we decided, we were going to go and believe God for miracles along the way, that we were going to trust God, that he was just going to work through the doctors and it was going to be okay.
Not
So-
only did the colon need to be removed,
Yes.
but at this point, your liver was at stage 4.
Yes.
And you were septic. I mean,
Yes.
that's what killed Jim Henson
Yeah.
of the Muppets.
Yeah.
Sepsis, poison, blood.
Yeah.
You were still believing.
Oh yeah. I
I
didn't
heard a
doubt.
chuckle over here. I know, it's absolutely,
Yeah.
I'm sure people thought, I know.
Yeah.
It was believed that you were in such denial that you just kind of flipped out.
Yeah. for
Because you
sure.
were still speaking positives
Yeah.
into, well, a man who was going down fast.
Yeah. Well, they when we arrived in London, they had nothing good to say, which they were just telling me the facts, right? And they said, we don't know what we're going to do. I mean, he's septic. He's off the liver transplant list. His liver can't handle an operation. If we don't operate, he will die, for sure. He's not stable. And so I said, well,
And there's no liver available.
And there's no liver
and there's
available.
no liver available. And he was
None
a
in
young
sight.
doctor. And I said, how old are you? And I said, listen, you don't know me and I don't know you, but I know God and he's going to be okay. And I even encouraged the nurse and said, you know, have you ever seen miracles? Do you believe in miracles? And he said, I can't say that I have. And so I told him my story about my brother, and I said, you're going to witness a miracle in this place. And so we left him that night. He actually did become stable. And the next day, the doctor came in again, a different doctor, and very nice people. The doctors there and nurses are wonderful. I love them. But again, very concerned. He was very concerned. He said, you know, we don't know what we're going to do. He may have, like, it's a flip of the coin. He maybe has 50-50 chance. I said, I don't care if he has 5% chance. I know God will take him through. And he said, you know, it doesn't always work with God. And I said, it will. It will. I know it will. We've been praying for too long. And I said, that man is full of faith. He knows his God. And really, you know, when he left it, me and my sister-in-law were in the room, and we refused to fear. Like, it comes to a point in your life where you go, okay, you either believe everything you've learned all your life, you know, you read the Bible, you read what it says, and you think, is it really true? And I remember at that point thinking, God, okay, it's me and you. Like, I have nothing. They have given me no hope. It's me and you. So I believe you. I'm going to trust you. And he gave me Ephesians 1, and I read it, and I knew. I said, okay, he's going to be okay. And Lisa and I walked in the room, and he's sitting there with his scrawny little arms, and he's like, honey, you don't have to worry about me. I've got the victory.